welcome to another episode of Reseller Evolution. I'm Scott.
And I'm Carl.
How's it going, Carl? Mr.
Pretty
COVID.
good. Oh, man, this won't go away. Now I got a cough. I got to hit the cough button every 5 minutes during the show. I'm driving my wife absolutely crazy with just constant coughing upstairs. Yeah, it's not good.
Well, it's been like you were saying before we went live here that it's been about 2 weeks, and you still have the cough.
Yeah, 2 weeks, still have the cough.
And you're still testing positive.
Yeah, I tested positive actually yesterday because we were supposed to have, there's a street party that they have. And I thought, well, just make sure I don't still like at least positive. But yeah, I got the double lines on the testing kit.
Wow.
So it's like I can still go out. Like it's not like I don't have to socially isolate myself because the symptoms are disappearing, and I wear a mask now. But yeah, I didn't want to go to a street party where you're like especially with the raining, there's gonna be enclosed environment and all that stuff. But anyways, yeah, it's slowly getting better. But more importantly, I have energy now. I actually did something the other day I haven't done in a month.
What's
I actually listed some stuff.
What?
Yeah, I know. I actually listed some stuff. Ironically, to do with our show, which is we're on episode 25, which is selling in bulk or buying in bulk.
Yeah, that's the topic of the day.
Yep.
Buying in bulk. Yeah.
And yeah, it was objects like that. So I was just happy to get stuff up. I did some packing. One thing that I noticed before I ask you how your week was is that Canada Post has really dropped their prices for shipping
on eBay.
On eBay for eBay labels.
Yeah.
Like, so usually I've been using Chit Chats, and I have no complaints about Chit Chats. I've been using them for years now here in Ottawa. Most people know, but they're a reshipper, right? But now, when I compare prices, it's almost the same, if not cheaper, on Canada Post eBay labels. And of course, Canada Post is everywhere, right? There's practically one at the end of the block. So I haven't been using Chit Chats, and I don't know. The other weird thing of what I really like about eBay labels,
what's that?
Is that the cost of shipping is taken out before I get my money from eBay, which is weird, but I kind of like that because now the money I get isn't going to go out. A good portion of it's going to go back out in shipping because it's already taken out. It doesn't make a difference. Right?
It's just the way you perceive
it. The way I perceive it.
Yeah.
And I actually prefer doing eBay labels, but I have a whole bunch of credits on Chit Chat, so I'm going to have to use up before they go belly up. I don't know if they're going to go belly up, but I know Canada Post had a big thing where they said they lost a lot of their parcel market.
Okay. Yeah, well, I did notice that Etsy doesn't have those discounts, so I guess it's just eBay.
Right. I didn't think of that. Yeah, I haven't sold anything on Etsy. I've been negligent when it comes to that. But
Etsy was like on fire, and now for the last 2 weeks, it's gone. Like it's
gone. Yeah.
It's just I don't know what goes on there. I don't understand it. So,
how's your week been?
My big week was really good. I kind of and I say this quite often, but because the booth is holding its own, and the booth has been completely doing great. I had actually a good weekend on the yard sales. I kind of expanded into a new category, which is golf clubs. So I think I'm going to do okay. In some regards, you would say if you're in yard sale mode, maybe I paid up a little bit. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, by the time I part all the golf clubs out the way I'm going to lot them in different groups, irons, drivers, putters, that kind of thing, I'll do very well. So
yeah, though that putter you have with the double kind of weird head on it.
Yeah.
Even those I know to look for when I see those. I've never actually bought one, but I know enough to look for that. And when you showed that one, I knew that was going to be good money by itself.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it does. I'm surprised how much irons are. Like I might get $350 to $450 for those irons.
Wow.
Yeah. I paid $125 by the way for the bag.
Yeah.
And he had another specialty driver supposed to help with your slice and all this kind of stuff to the side. And he wanted $50 for it. He said he paid 400 and something for it.
Yeah.
And I said, well, if you throw that in for $25, like I'll give you 125 for everything. And he had no problems with it. It was funny because there was a woman there that was talking to his wife. So I think they kind of knew each other. It was a husband and wife combination. She goes, "Oh, I'll give you 50." And I'm so, "Oh, if you want it for 50." I knew she was trying to play a mind game.
Yeah, right.
Right? Oh, no. I'm like, "Oh, take it. And her husband's saying, no, she doesn't want it. And I'm like, no. I really don't want it. Honestly, I'm just like, if I can get it for a good deal, I'm going to see, check it out. Yeah. And I said, so go ahead and take it. And the guy that's selling it, he goes, she doesn't want it. He put it in the golf club.
She was trying to get you up your price for them. That's what she was doing, eh?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. You can't blame her for trying. But you
So
caught on right away.
Yeah. I'm like, no, take it, right? Like, but
see, that's pretty good. Like that, you paid up 125 because I'm not sure. I'd be nervous about spending that kind of money on something I don't really know.
Well, I look at it this way: that I've seen people sell the bags, and if I put it in my booth, the bag's going to get me $50, right? It's a nice, very clean, great shape. It's got lots of space for things. And so there's $50. If I gotta be able to get another $50 for everything else. Like I think the gamble was very minimal in that I'm gonna break even. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I know there were the Callaway were the drivers. So I'm thinking they got to be good. It's Callaway. Well, it turns out that they're actually going to give me the least amount of return. Right?
It's funny, eh?
Yeah, it's funny.
But there's quite a few things like that where it's not until you buy it you understand it.
Yeah, and I do the live shows on Sunday, so I got a lot of information and confirmation really from the viewers that it was how much it's going to actually be worth. So I was really happy to hear a lot of those comments during the live show. So and then I started researching it after the show, and that's good. So anyways, so I got that. The yard sale was pretty good, but something interesting has happened, Carl.
Yeah,
something interesting has returned into my life, which is going to distract me from listing, but I think it's just fun. It's still going to make some money off it. And the production company has returned to Ontario, and they gave me a call.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I'm Mr. Star over here.
Mr. Hollywood.
We're going to have to get you your own star on the Hollywood.
That's what my cousin says, Mr. Hollywood.
Mr. Hollywood.
But, yeah. It's just a small production company. They do like, I guess it would be considered reality TV things, but this wasn't on dogs. It's not even about antiques or picking or anything. And I don't know if I can give it too much information, but I'll just kind of say that they're a lot of fun to work with. And they gave me a call. They said they're back in town, and they hired me for 15 days in a production assistant or like help the production and doing anything, like, whatever they need done. Right. Wow. So I spent 2 days of my 15. I think they're here for a month and a half. Definitely a month. 2 days painting and getting the set ready. And they flew carpenters and everything from Nova Scotia over here. They stayed in hotel rooms and their phenome and everything else. And then they're here for 3 days. So I helped for 2 of the 3 days. Yeah. Then they flew them back. They're coming Wednesday to start production. So,
that's cool. So they must like you if they want to have you help out.
How could they not like me, Carl? Come on. Even you like me, and you don't like anybody. So
that's true.
You might be lying to me. Maybe you don't like me. I don't know.
Oh man, you're a good friend. So you're not going to be behind the camera though. Like you're not going to be in front of the camera. You'll be kind of like behind the camera in this.
As far as I know, but if they want someone charming and sweep the audience off their feet, do not come to me.
Oh, that's cool though. That's fun. Something different too, right? Like. It's always enjoying trying new well, it's not even new, but just different things.
Yeah, like my son has been doing film before he went to university for film, Ryerson. So when he was 13, all through right up until he went to college or university, when he was 18, we used to do like little 20 to 30-minute films, usually in the horror genre, but it was short films, and we put them in a film festival. So we got pretty clever at kind of being resourceful and, low budget stuff, right? So
Yeah.
so I honestly, I really enjoy it. I miss doing that kind of stuff. So this kind of helps out, and I get paid for it. You know what I mean? So they're
Yeah,
paying me.
sweet.
So, yeah. So
Oh,
contract and everything. I had to sign
Wow.
contracts and all sorts of stuff. So
NDAs you're currently breaking and all
the
that.
hardest thing to get over was that there was nobody wanting autographs. That was the hard. I'm coming out of the studio and I'm like, where is everybody? How come I'm not
That's so
signing autographs?
weird. You should be charging for them.
Yeah, that's right. All right. But I asked if I should be getting a bodyguard, and they said, no, don't worry about it. Not right now. So
Okay.
I'm kidding, buddy. I'm just kidding. But no, so that's happening. So yeah. That's about it. That's the excitement for this week. So
what about reselling? Have you been going to garage sales?
Yeah. So I went to the garage sale and I got the golf clubs, and
Right, of course.
yeah. So I did really well, actually. Port Dover had a little town wide. Again, I got to get there super early. And it worked out in my favor. Not a lot of them are early, but the ones that are early, I got to pick them. And then a couple of them I actually went back to because they weren't fully set up. But I got the good stuff, and then I went on and I do the other yard sales, and I make my way back. So most people don't start till 8, but
I found that too. Like I haven't done any sourcing now for at least a month, because when I was sick, I didn't want to source. I thought about going out this last weekend, but excuse me, I'm a lot better, but my energy levels aren't there. And for me, going around, even just driving around, took too much energy. I didn't want to deal with it. And then, of course, I was in Italy. So just today, I was going to go sourcing, but now we're doing the show. But it's all good. I got, I have lots of stuff now. And I'm going to go out Saturday just to make sure I don't I want to make sure I get back on the bike, so to speak. It doesn't have to be too long. It's funny because I don't really miss sourcing from the thrift stores that much, but I'll go just for social reasons as much as anything else. And my store's back online and I've been shipping stuff out, but I haven't had a ton of sales, but it's kind of nice. Like I've about 1,300 items up now, and it's like a kind of like a flywheel. Like once you get the flywheel of like everything like on your store in there and going, you don't have to do any work. You can still get sales, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. I had a few sales this week. There was it's called a Little Beaver. It was a road grader, and I couldn't believe how long it sat around. I thought it would sell super quick, but it finally went. $145 is what I had it listed for. Somebody was a watcher. I give them like a 15% off. So it came to $123 plus shipping. And so I was kind of happy to see that go, but I was a little confused as why a pressed steel grader, any vehicle really. But I was kind of concerned that it took so long to sell, but I'm glad to see it go. But
yeah, I think the one sale I had was like for 80 American. It was like kind of like a mix machine, like electronics, and I didn't have the power cord and I couldn't test it, so I just sold it as is for 80 plus shipping. So it was, it wasn't a huge money maker, but I probably only spent $15 on it, and I didn't do any work because I couldn't test it. So those parts and repairs, those can be good sales. But another little one was actually something we'll talk about in the show, because it's kind of like one of those bulk buys I bought and just keeps selling things slowly.
Okay, very good.
So do you want to get into the comments from the
Yepper
last show?
Yeah, we should. I'm going to start having some sort of jingle, like
right,
comments or something. Like I'll have it. I'll get AI to come up with something, because we'll do a little intro to the comments. But we have a few comments here. And Carl, do you want to start it off?
So I'll start with Larry's.
I just want to say before you start, though, all these comments were on YouTube. So if you're on Spotify, you can still leave a comment. This week we don't have any comments there, but anyway, just to let people know.
Okay, so hi guys. Nice to hear the dynamic duo back together. Hope you're feeling better. Since I only do this part-time as a hobby, I don't feel too much pressure to buy or list or sell. And actually, honestly, I'm just me. I feel the same way because I'm retired. I do this for fun. I don't need to do stuff, which is good and bad. If I'm not in the mood, then it's not a big deal, but I do appreciate the motivational pointers. Yard sales on my end of town are drying up fast, but I find some good stuff last weekend. Thanks. I'll be tuning in next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Yeah, like that's the thing when you don't rely on the income, but for me it's really important to keep things fun, and I agree with that. Hopefully the sales haven't completely stopped because I'm finally getting back into it, and like we're already at the beginning of June. So I'm not sure how long garage sales really go, because I think they start up in May and they kind of die again, right? Is that something you feel?
I honestly, I kind of have yard sales all year round, or sorry, all summer long. So right up until they kind of trickle into October, really. But
Okay,
there is a spell, kind of maybe July-ish, where there's much fewer. You know what I
right.
mean? But I'm finding June, like, I mean, it's no secret. You can go on there's a website that talks about all of them here in
Yeah.
Southern Ontario. And like, I mean, last week, I think there was, I could be even low by saying there was 20 small little towns that had it last weekend.
Oh
And
wow.
this weekend's a big weekend as well. My plan is to hit two of the town wides. And I'm probably not going to have time to go to a third because it's about 40 minutes from where I am. But the other one doesn't take long. I'll probably be out of there by 8:30, but you got to hit it by 6:30 because it's one of those towns there's 20 to 30 yard sales and there's 500 pickers. Because I've always found great stuff in this little old town, and really looking forward to going there. But for the most part, just to answer the question, yeah, there tends to be a dry spell around here, but it's usually kind of mid-July-ish for a couple of weeks, and then it kind of picks back up. But
Right. Okay.
and I find too that it really gets hot, so a lot of people start closing them down before noon, like 11 till noon. Where
Yeah.
right now, when it's kind of cool and you can bear the heat, they'll go to like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, right? But they do shut them down earlier when it's really hot in July, for sure.
Honestly, I don't usually have any energy for them after 10. Usually by
Yeah,
10:30, I'm really done. Or what I do is I'll still go, but I won't even really look at the stuff, and then I
yeah.
know, okay, I'm done. It's just like I'm going through the motions, but not really concentrating on what I'm looking at, if you know what I mean. So
Well, if you kind of buck that trend a little bit, and I don't know your area, so I'm going to talk about my area because I think we're completely different areas for whatever reason. We're still in Ontario, but um, sometimes when you're there, sometimes you can get stuff super cheap that they were kind of asking too much for earlier because they just want to get it done now, right?
yeah,
So there is a benefit to that, but I would tend to say I'm like you in that way. Is that I'm really kind of burnt out. I like really hard in the morning, and
yeah.
I'm ready to call it a day. But
It takes a lot for me. It takes a lot of mental energy to do it.
yep,
It's funny because I really like socializing and stuff like that, but it drains me.
yeah,
So like if I'm out for, even though it's garage sales, you're still kind of socializing. It's kind of funny. So after 2 or 3 hours, I'm done and I need to take a break.
yeah,
Um, but we'll see how it is. Like, and for like when they start, like I've been going out there for 7, and I found like here in Ottawa, they really weren't starting until 7:30 or 8.
yeah,
Uh, so it was funny is that, I'm always worried about hitting the same garage sale twice. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I, and also like the other thing I was worried about too is like, I find there's a quality difference in the little town parts of Ottawa I go in. So I kind of really, maybe this is the wrong way to look at it. And I apologize to anyone who I'm upsetting, but I find detached houses
mm-hmm.
tend to pay off for good stuff a lot more than some of the areas where there's a whole bunch of little townhomes.
Right.
If you know what I
100%.
mean?
Yeah.
And
100%.
so I've been really trying to be careful hitting the detached houses first. And I might even just avoid those townhomes because I honestly found there was a lot of junk.
Yeah. There's a lot of like modern toys because they have a child that's no longer one because he's two.
Yeah.
Or
Or
two and
these
a
are
half.
even old townhomes. They're not brand new townhomes. They're
Yeah.
kind of like just a little less economically well off townhomes. And I found there was a little less there. But I that's just my impressions. And I've been asking around other people how they feel, and they were repeating the same things that
Yeah. No, I would
kind of
agree. I like hitting the old, like single homes that maybe were built in the 40s or the 30s or
yeah.
older, right? But
If
a
you
lot of
can
those,
find that, yeah.
like if you, because sometimes those homes just either they've been living there forever, it's handed down to the family or whatever, but
Yeah.
sometimes I think things just stay in the home, right? And then people just eventually bring it out for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And it's usually old and gold because old is gold. But anyway, yeah.
So do you want to do the next one from Randy?
Yeah, Randy, Nova Scotia Celt 5218. Hi guys, glad to hear Carl again. Regarding your sales or yard sales, things have definitely changed since the epidemic. Fewer sales and higher prices. I find the same thing for sure, especially this year.
Yeah.
But same number of people trying to sell their junk. If you are not sure if it is junk or resellable, it is likely garbage. I agree. Looking for a variety of things keeps the hunt fun. Can't imagine just looking for just clothes or video games. Every day is an opportunity to learn something new. Thanks. Another great video, Randy. I 100% agree with Randy. Like, I couldn't imagine, and I think I've said this too, but I can't imagine just looking for the same thing over and 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 over again. But because it's going to sound like me rambling on there, but I love trying new things and learning new things, like the golf clubs this week. So yeah,
Yeah, like for fewer sales, like I don't know, I haven't noticed that, but the higher prices, yeah, you're looking for that. I definitely look for that garage sale where you see some reasonable prices, and it makes a big difference. I think for what I've been buying stuff that might go better in a booth, and I can't prevent myself from doing that. Like stuff that's harder for me to sell online, so I have to be really careful that I don't get too many statues or big pictures and stuff like that, because that's the stuff you tend to find at the garage sales too. Is the bigger stuff that people don't necessarily want to sell a different way.
All right, buddy. Well, we got Chop Chop. Do you want to read his comment?
Sure. Hi, Scott and Carl. Great podcast. My motivation is not exciting. Is the fact that as a full timer, I need to meet a certain financial target each month to survive, if I'm feeling it or not. Yeah. So I have my Excel sheets, and I know what that's like, and I know that I have to have a certain amount up of inventory if I want to make these goals. And like it's obvious, but if you don't put up $500 of stuff a week, you can't sell $500 worth of stuff a week, right? Eventually, that math isn't going to work. So he said, if eBay sales are down, it is depressing. If they're up, eBay is the best thing since sliced bread. All the best, chop chop. Yeah, I get that. Like if I have a good sale, it does motivate me to kind of list a bit more too. And you know what? You enjoy getting up in the morning, right? And
enjoying and not minding is two different things. Like I enjoy sleeping in, to be honest with you. But if I'm in a rhythm, I don't mind getting up in the morning. But if I'm up to 2 3 in the morning, or like last night, where I wake up at 2 at night and it's 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm still awake, and I got a podcast to do at 10 with Carl.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, I got a power nap here.
And then Carl starts saying texts saying, "Wake up, it's time to do the podcast."
Yeah. Well, I think what happens too is the more pressure you're putting yourself to go to sleep, the harder it is to go to sleep. You know what I mean?
It's just getting older too, to be honest. Like all the guys I know are like, "Oh, I don't get nearly as much good sleep as I once did," and that's part of it too.
Yeah,
you're getting older.
Yeah, and I do like my little, like if I'm outside working, I could work 7 in the morning till 7 at night, no problem. But if I'm in the house and I'm on the computer, I need a nap around 2 or 3 o'clock.
Oh God, yeah, that's such like I have. That's basically what I've been doing is napping all day for the last 2 weeks.
Well,
Right?
you're
Especially
sick
being
too, though,
sick.
bud. You know.
But it's so tempting when you don't have that external push, because it's easy trap to fall into. And honestly, I don't feel good if I don't socialize. So
Yeah, like when I'm working on the set there, I'm painting, sawing, we're screwing boards together, we're
yeah,
lifting, I'm crouching, I'm on my knees, like my knees are sore, trust me. But but you're painting and doing things where it has to be on the ground, screwing boards in and all sorts of stuff. But there's not one point where I was tired, I needed a nap. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I'm active, I'm moving, and I'm putting 10 hours in. But if I do 3 hours on the computer, I'm like dozing off, you know. So
yeah.
it's a different animal. So
Variety is the spice of life.
yeah.
I think that's true in reselling too. You know.
So going on with Chop Chop, are you, Carl?
So he did another one as well.
Yeah.
On the multiple purchase theme, my wife sells toys on eBay. She buys bundles from various sources, splits them up, and sells them on eBay. This module works well in any other category, be it tools, clothing, ceramics, hobby collections, you name it. Bulk buy and splitting works, and you learn from those bundles too. Yep, we're going to talk about that. I agree with that. It's kind of a direction I would really like to do if I could get those bulk buys all the time.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about bulk buys today. And there's two ways of categories in bulk buys. You're buying a bunch of the same item.
Yeah.
In the form of like a lot meaning like a lot, like not a whole bunch, but a group. But or you're buying individually and you're making a pile to come up with an overall price, right? So both are important. I'm going to kind of focus a little bit on the same type of item, but you're buying them all together at one shot, and you're listing them all in one shot. There's a lot of advantages to that, but
and we'll give some examples on why we liked those particular things that we did.
100%. And good point, Chop Chop. So you sell toys on eBay, and I do that too. I'll talk about toys. I'm going to talk about toys a little bit during that actual episode here. So doing it wrong has usually what gets me motivated is simply handling the products, put away recently listed items, sort items in your death pile, triage, recognize death piles to optimize space. And he's just commenting on one of our comments last week about keeping motivated and how to do that. And that it's a brain thing. It's a mental thing, right? Like I don't know if you can notice behind me, but I did a lot of cleaning yesterday.
Oh, there's a shelf missing. Yeah, I noticed that now.
There's two shelves missing.
Two shelves missing. Okay.
Yeah, and now I just got to work on these two. But it is a lot of it was just moved to out of my for my brain. You know what I mean? So I just had to get it out of here because it's bogging my brain down. You know?
Yeah,
so
and that's keeping your little area clean.
Yeah, 100%. And it's more neater in another area, so I can put more in a less space. So it's easy for me just to go and grab a box or a group of things, come deal with those things.
For me, if I'm tripping over stuff while I'm trying to list, it drives me nuts.
Yeah,
and it drains all my energy almost immediately. So I need at least a little spot. But sometimes when I move stuff around, I find stuff that I put somewhere temporarily that's actually good. It's like treasure hunting all over again.
100%, Carl. That was exactly why I get into that can of worms, but we got to keep moving here.
Yeah.
And this is all during it wrong. Continues. You're absolutely right. Reselling is always on my brain. I just got bought from Vegas from a tech conference, Cisco Live, huh? And I already comped some of the free swag.
Nice.
Which is actually an interesting thing, but okay, I'm going down a rabbit hole. I even walked down to the Mirage to pick up some poker chips since they're shutting. What? Really? At the end of the month, the Mirage is shutting down? I cannot check prices. Huh. I didn't
I
know the
can't
Mirage was
not
shutting
check
down.
prices.
But
Yeah.
that's interesting.
That's a nicest way to add some business to your business trip there.
Yeah, that's perfect. But I mean, those, they're giving away free things. I'm sure they're going to be worth some money, right? All that tech guys are going to want that.
Oh yeah, all the old tech buttons and stuff like that are worth good money too, like old Microsoft pins and T-shirts and all that swag.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be Apple stuff. That can be really worth good money too. But they were just
Yeah.
giving it away in the past, so
Yeah. Okay, Carl. What's we got two more comments. What's the next one?
So Dawn is saying that I suck, and
Again?
I can't believe it. Yeah, and the best thing is she's trolling me because I was trolling her on another podcast, on a
Okay.
live show, and now she says I suck, and now it's stuck in my own podcast. Talk to me. Even I've said it out loud, so it's like good trolling, Dawn. I'm very impressed. We're gonna leave that one alone. The motivation thing is real though. Since the weather has gone better, I'd be more interested in working in my garden than being on my computer. Especially after ending and relisting my entire store on May 31st and seeing no real result from it. I just haven't been listing nearly as much as I was before. I'm going back to listing print ads for a bit because they're fast and easy, like Carl. Listing easy stuff helps me get back on track. And since I'm out of postcards and music sheet music, print ads rip. So yeah, I think the motive, like the weather, like when it's really cold and damp, and yeah, it's like perfect napping weather. Like yeah, that the temptation is just to have multiple naps a day. Since we got back to, my cat's been glued to me, like glued to my side, and everywhere I go he has a little nap, and it's like, oh, that's a good idea, I should have a little nap too.
Well, I just want to say about the weather itself.
Yeah.
I don't have that problem that when the weather's nice that I like to work outside. However, I did make a filter for my the fish pond that I built out in the front. I built an even bigger fish pond in the backyard.
Yeah.
Created a filter for it. I also planted some plants and put some rocks around it to make a rock garden. I put up a new shed, and I've cleaned out the new shed. But I don't get distracted from the nice weather and want to be outside either.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's good to be out there though, like I've been going for long walks and stuff like that. And
yeah, but it's completely doing outside work instead. Like just been, but hey, I'm happy. It looks good out there. So
what's life about too? It's not all about reselling.
That's right.
By what we think. As for ending and relisting, I do that sometimes, but I haven't done that in a while. Usually I'll take my oldest month of listings, and I'll just sort by oldest and then relist. I don't find it has a huge effect, but it's not really any work.
Like it says, garage sales, I've been to several times already this season, and I've bought very little. Okay, so I think we're kind of all in the same boat. Although I found a couple good yard sales where I was able to pack up, but again, a lot of my stuff is also for the booth. But I've also found a lot more harder and a lot more people just wanting more money.
Yeah, well, Dawn does a lot of like ephemera and stuff like that too, which is probably that's the sort of stuff I buy more at auctions.
Yeah,
or Facebook Marketplace than I would. I have bought it garage sales, but pretty rare.
It's pretty rare. A lot of people just think it's junk, right? So they throw it out. So what you have to do is maybe ask for it, or because they just don't know what they have, right? In that regard. So
yeah, and they're generally getting rid of a lot of big stuff, or like vases or whatever, lamps and stuff, right. Like not so much the paper stuff.
Yard sales are not the place to find paper items, yes, and we have fewer goods. I found it either being electronics, which I view as more of a chore. I get that for sure than what they're worth. China clear glass isn't worth more than about $5, but I mean, again, that's knowledge base. So a friend of mine who was on the show before, Ben, I don't know if you remember him, but he picked
Yeah.
up a piece of pottery and he sold it for $2,100 and he paid $2.
Wow.
And
Good
you
for
know what
him.
I asked him? I said,
No.
"Did you ask if they would take $1 for it?"
no,
He laughed too. What?
no,
No, he
no.
paid the $2. But it's knowledge based, right? So I
Yeah.
would have walked that past that piece of pottery 1,000 times, unless it had some sort of like older or neat look. I would have picked it up, and probably put it in my booth for $30. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things you probably can't really look up. You have to know it. And he does a lot of high end auctions.
Yeah.
He does a lot of antique shows, like where he travels to and takes antiques, and he's met a lot of people. He's seen a lot of things. So his knowledge base is like one of the best for that kind of stuff, right? So,
Don also asks which one of us has a bird.
a cockatiel. I hear the birdies. We have two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be Scott.
Yeah. Zazu and Georgie. We have two cockatiels. Yeah.
Cool.
We had two cockatiels. One, this is not a lie, Carl. You can ask Stephanie. One fell in love with me, and they tend to do that. So I could not speak. I could not walk in the house without going beep, beep, screaming for attention.
Oh, really?
So we had to actually give it away because it would go nuts.
I've heard birds can drive you nuts if you're not.
Yeah. Now, Georgie, on the other hand, hisses at me. She couldn't even stand it. So it's weird. So we actually ended up having to give it away. And then somebody else was downsizing. They had a stroke and they had Zazu. So we knew them. So we took in their bird. Yeah. And they're fine. Like they totally get along and everything. But the one, Gracie was like, she just wouldn't stop squawking. No, I tried to talk the stuff from like one end of the living room to the other, and it would go nuts. It would just
they don't give up.
They don't give up, and they want my attention, right?
Yeah.
So we even went to the vet, or I guess it wasn't a vet; it was someone who sells the birds. It was like a store.
Yeah.
And they said they just attach themselves to you, and I was it's craziness, but yeah. But I mean, it was a nice bird. Like it was very friendly, and it would sit on my shoulder. And
yeah.
Right? Now I don't even go near them because it's just I don't want another bird along with me again.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's us. That's Steph and I. What Carl fails to realize is the whether he is sick or not, he still sucks. No mercy. I really hope you feel better, Carl. She's kidding you. So obviously you know who she is. So.
Yes, I know Don well.
Well, thank you, Don, and everyone else. Chop, doing it wrong. Randy, I'm just kind of going up the list here, and Larry M. Thanks for the comments, and we look forward to it. And it's a big chunk of what we do. Obviously, we spent a lot of time on it today, but it's a big chunk of what we do. I love hearing comments because it kind of keeps me in check whether I'm doing it wrong, or if I'm doing it right. Doing it wrong is one of the guys there. But yeah, so buying in bulk or bulk buys, like there's two different ways to look at it. How do you perceive it, Carl?
So for me, it is the two different types. So one is like when you're buying all similar objects like postcards or magazines.
Yeah.
The other one can be when you're buying the same object, but you're doing multiples of that one object. So I have stickers and I have multiples of the same sheets of stickers, or I also have playing cards that are the same. So I make the one listing and then I can just sell the same thing over and over again. So is that how you feel too? The two styles, really?
Well, I kind of add in bulk buying could also be like, hey, I'm going to put a pile here and I'm going to try to get it for a better price because I'm buying in bulk.
Right.
But for today's purposes, I was kind of referring to like a lot of magazines, like a box of magazines or a
similar type item types. Yeah, not rather than like, here's a lamp with a Walkman with a TV and a
Yeah.
guitar, right? Like, yeah, we're not talking about that sort of thing.
And there's a lot of strategies involved that I don't know if it's strategies. I think there's a lot of pros and cons, but there's a lot of pros. I think is a better term in doing this. Like I find it
Yeah.
very beneficial for me, and I find the booth saves me in a lot of ways. And I'll kind of touch upon that. Why it helps me. It helps me to buy that kind of style. You know what I mean? And I don't know if this is corny or not, but with confidence. You know what I mean? I can go in there and buy it because I know I'm going to be able to have a place to put it if it's only worth $5 a piece. You know?
Yeah, in general, I find when we buy like this, it's some of the lowest cost per items, ways of buying that we have.
All right.
Because
So
often when you buy a bunch of stuff, it's hard for them to tell how many items you're getting for that bulk price, or they don't care.
yeah. Or another thing is too, like if I see some toys in a tote, and I've done this before, and I know there's 3 or 4 toys in there, and I don't want to go cherry picking them because they're going to say, well, what's so good about that? Like there might be
Yeah.
questions there, or maybe I didn't know that was in there. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
what I'm just gonna say, I see a bunch of totes there, or toys in the tote there. What do you want for the whole tote? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't have to go Google lensing every piece. I'll buy the whole tote, and I'll just kind of go a little bit. Toys is one of them, and whatever isn't worth more than $1 or a couple bucks, or maybe really worthless, I will bag them up and put $5 on the bag of those toys. But within that group is going to be something that's worth 30, sometimes 150 to $200 for one toy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's happened more than one occasion. Like it's very. I wouldn't say it's like every weekend, but it's also not unusual to find that kind of stuff, right? Like
It's also
and,
fast.
and it's fast, 100%. Good point.
Yeah.
Yes, I would have.
When you're not trying to cherry pick 1 or 2 things out, you just say how much for the whole thing.
Yeah.
You'll grab it. You'll pay up because you're buying a lot, not necessarily, but you are paying like the total amount might be a little higher. But then it's so fast. You put it in your car, you get home, and then if it's the same sort of item, you can actually list. You actually will actually list the stuff, and B, it's easy to list because it's so similar. You can quickly pump out the listings. So, like a practical example is from a garage sale. I guess a month and a half ago now. I bought a whole bunch of NHL and NFL pins.
Yeah.
And it was a big bag of them. And she just wanted 5. She said, we're just getting rid of these. Here's 5. Give me $5. And there must have been, I don't know, 50 or 60 pins. Now, if it was one individual pin, I wouldn't have picked it up because each pin is only going to sell for 8 to 10 American, right? But when I'm buying so many, for one, I'm paying like 10 cents each. But number 2 is I can pump out the listings because I'm just doing sell similar because a lot of, like they're brand new. In this case, a lot of them are brand new. And I just take picture front back and I can pump out the listings. And all it takes is for me to sell one pin. Even though I'm selling it for 8 or 10 American, by the time all the fees are out, everything, it's going to pay for the entire batch. But then the other thing that's nice about these pins is I've actually listed them. As opposed to when I get that clock and then I get that board game and I get that even camera, those are going to sit around because I can't pump those listings out. But when you have those nice bulk items, you actually not only are you getting them at a good price each, you're able to actually list them.
Yeah, and photos are 2 photos, maybe 3 with a ruler.
Photos, and it's so quick. And often I find with these bulk listings, when you're bulk buys, is it's usually not stuff you have to test. Usually it's stuff where it's just like you're not testing a pin, right? You're not testing like the deck of cards I got. Like I also got a huge lot of Hello Kitty cards, right? Just I took one picture because they're all the same, and I've been selling these damn things for years. And yeah, I'm not making a ton off each one, but the amount of work is so low that I probably made more off those stupid Hello Kitty cards than I did off like ones where I bought for 10, sold for 50, because I can just, they'll always be there. They're always in my store because I bought so many of them. The work was done once and done now forever.
Yeah.
It's like your returns are so high on that stuff. But it's finding those buys don't come along often, but often I'll take a chance because usually it's worth it. Now I have made mistakes too. I have a whole bunch of Avon jewelry somewhere that I bought that I should never have touched. But in general,
Yeah.
do you have any examples where you've done like a bulk buy of similar stuff that's worked out well?
Well, I mean, just recently, I haven't got to the point where I can say how good it's going to be. But I went to a yard sale town wide, and they were having basically an estate sale during the town wide because they were just bringing a bunch of stuff out of the house. Unfortunately, someone had passed away, and the family was selling the stuff off. But there was a table there, and they had 3 boxes of jewelry, and there was bagged jewelry out there, and I didn't want to go look for everything as gold, and I'm not going to pull out a loop and then I got one here, because then they're going to know. I just said there was a couple rings that kind of looked like white gold. There was definitely going to be some sterling in there, and I just felt the prices were so good. They didn't seem to have a care about a lot of the stuff that they probably didn't take their time and go through it. So I just said, how much for everything on the table? And just to make a long story short, like I explained why I wanted it all, you know what I mean? And I just said there's pure volume here, and I could put 5 or 10 things, in the booth and stuff, and some will sell, some won't. I just give them the spiel. And I said, well, what do you want for it all? And she goes, well, what do you think it's worth? And I'm like, listen, I said, I'll give you $100. She goes, 150. And I'm like, $150. So you do know what you want for it. So I said, I said 125, and she goes 135. And I had a couple items in my hand. I said, you throw these in, I'll do your 135. So probably paid 120. I really had to search for some gold in there, but I probably found enough gold to pay for for the 135.
Yeah,
definitely $100 in gold, but there's some sterling pieces, and I am just going to bag them, put $5 to $15. There might be a couple pieces in there I'll put like $30 for, but it was a bulk deal. I didn't go picking through it, and exactly to your point, and I should have said that first because that is 100% why you do this as well, is because I don't want to waste my time. I'm missing stuff if I'm going through every piece, right? I might have flipped over a couple pieces to see if there's a Sherman or a Trifari or something, but I didn't really see any of that. But I just bought them all. Done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just have to be careful for your prices. Like, it can be difficult to come up with a price. Like, I remember I once did the same thing with a whole, like, they had piles and piles and piles of comic books, 80s, so not the best years, not in the best condition. And they said, well, they wanted, I don't know, 50 cents a comic. I could have cherry picked the whole thing. I said, well, how much for the whole thing? And they said, oh, 200. And I said, well, honestly, these are really bad condition. And I said, well, how about 100? And they went for it. And I made good money off of that big bulk buy. But you want to make sure that you're paying less, excuse me, less money, not overpaying. When you're buying bulk like that, it can be deceiving how much you're actually getting.
Well, I think it comes with a little bit of experience, and you have to understand that there's, like, I shouldn't say you have to understand, but in my mind, there's probably going to be a couple of home runs in there, or some gems.
Yeah.
And you kind of evaluate in your head what a gem is, and you also kind of like analyze the situation, right? Like,
you want to make sure
if it's a comic book guy that just does nothing but comic books, he's already cherry picked it. You know what I mean?
He's getting rid of his shit.
He's getting rid of his shit.
Yeah.
But if it's a family that doesn't really know, but I look comic books up and I know some have value, you're probably going to know that they didn't figure out which one is the value. You know what I mean?
Not. Yeah, that's sort of the risk too when I bought those comic books, because I had a feeling that they probably were cherry picked, but there's still low enough value that was worth my time to get those.
Yeah, or you have a way to get rid of the shit too. Like for me, I'll put $3 to $4 per comic book.
Yeah,
and it helps that they're already sleeved, because now I don't have to do that, which is a huge cost, right? Like when you're doing lots of comic books, it can be a very costly thing. But if they're already bagged and boarded,
Yeah.
then I'll just put $3 to $4 on it, and people will come and they'll pick. Like maybe they're looking for that one modern, I don't know, Deadpool comic, or they're looking for 20. There's 20 Hulk, numbered probably sequence comics, so they might just grab them all. You know what I mean? There might be 10
Yeah.
of them for $40. That's a great deal for them. It's a great deal for me.
I
But
think when you're buying in bulk, the thing is you can often, where it doesn't make sense to buy one item, will often make sense to buy a bunch. Because usually sometimes when you buy in bulk, the value per item is pretty low. But
right,
because you're buying so much and it's so easy to quickly list and hopefully quick to ship, that it's still, even though you're only making $5 or $6 off an item, it's taking you no work to do it.
and 100% agree. But when I look at it too, it's usually a small item where I can fit a ton of them in the booth that doesn't take up much rental space. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
comics, they sit upright and they're very thin, so they don't take up. You can set hundreds in just a little row. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jewelry, you can just put them in like a tray. You know what I mean? And there could be hundreds of them pieces for $5. It's $500. You know what I mean? Just
Same
hundreds of
with,
little pieces, right?
yeah.
Brooches, rings, necklaces.
Postcards. Postcards.
Postcards are the
Same way.
exact same. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so those are the things that make me decide whether I really want this or not. There's a lot of things that I won't take. I'm not going to take $500 for $10 because I can't give them away, let alone sell them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you want to make sure there is some demand. It can be
Yeah.
a little hard because when you're looking, like these pins, like, okay, in general, actually, I find a lot of the stuff that you're buying in bulk has a low sell-through rate. So a lot of the stuff you are going to be holding on to for a long time. But generally it's okay because, like you said, it's not taking up a lot of room. You've listed it, and now it's like off in storage. So like I bought boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of Hello Kitty cards.
Yeah.
And I sell 3 packs for about 10 American. And I must have paid, I think, 30 or 40 cents at most for the 3 packs in total. And they're stored in a special area because whenever I get a sale, I just grab 3, put in a poly mailer, a bone mailer, and off it goes.
Yeah.
And but the demand is pretty low. I only sell maybe a pack every month, maybe 2 packs a month, right? Depending on when in the year. But that's okay because I'm not in a hurry to get rid of these because it's not like I have a lot of capital invested in this stuff. It's not taking up a lot of physical room. And it's kind of like a bread and butter thing. It's like, it's not going to pay all my bills, like all those Hello Kitty cards, but it is going to, pay for that bag of chips that I buy when I go to drop off my Canada Post stuff.
Right.
It's just kind of nice. It's very bread and butter. Like postcards are the same way. They generally sell for about $5. These pins will sell for 8 to 10. I got a big magazine guitar, drum magazines, and I paid 10 cents a magazine, and I got like 80 to 100 of them, and they sell for about 10 to 15 American each. The same thing, but I just put them in a flat mailer and off it goes. And it's really some of my favorite buys because it's not my favorite buys in terms of maybe like money per item, but it's stuff I've actually listed and the work is done and it's easy to ship. So when it sells, I'm not like, oh my God, now I need to ship a vase. I never upset about shipping a magazine. It takes me 5 seconds.
Yeah. And magazines are probably one of my bugaboos in that they do well over time, but I buy them so much, right? Because if they're like 70s and they're on cars or they're on dirt bikes or motorbikes,
Yeah,
or trains, or I can't say no to them. They're usually $20 for a box, and there's probably 30 to 50 at minimum. And I can get rid of them for 5 to 10. And in some cases, they can be home runs and they're worth 30 to maybe even 100 per magazine, right? Like very rarely do they get to the 100 mark, but I have sold a couple in that range. Now, I have some interesting ones I got to get to, but they are Time Life, like Time magazines, not Time Life, but Time magazines from the 30s.
Mm,
And some of those, if they're a sports or they're certain ones,
yeah.
they're actually worth some decent money. So I have to go through them and figure them out. The other problem is you got to do the smell test. You got to do the mold test. You know what I mean? Are they musty, or do they look
Yeah.
like they've been water that got wet at some point? You know what I mean? So
Usually for magazines, like I'm not super fussy on the condition because the ones I'm selling are mostly being bought to read, not for collectible reasons. So it's not like I don't want them damaged. Don't get me wrong, but if there's a few rips and tears, I'm not going to turn down a collection. But you have to get them cheap.
you have to get them cheap for
Yeah,
sure.
and like I remember once I bought a whole bunch of black belt magazines. I did really well off of those, and those sell for more like 15 to 20 to 25 American each. But there were some home runs in that, so you're never quite sure. Like, yeah, you don't want to pick up any magazines. Like I wouldn't buy modern like home
Right.
decor
100%.
magazines.
Right.
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 Like, you want to make sure at least there is some demand for what you're picking up.
Yeah. Little story on magazines. Once, when I was in my early stages, I was not on eBay. I didn't have a booth. I sold on Kijiji, of all
Yeah.
places. And I would go out and hit some yard sales, and I got these Rod and Gun magazines
Mm.
from the 60s. Rod and Gun is a hunting magazine, and I picked them up for 25 cents a piece, and I think I got 12. So I put them on Kijiji, and some guy asked me what I would charge for all of them plus shipping. He lived out in Ottawa, actually. And when he got them, he messaged me that he was so happy, the condition, everything like that. And he said his grandfather, who lived in Montreal, was the artist.
Oh, cool.
And I thought, because the artist on the artwork on these magazines, if you ever just do a Google search on Rod and Gun magazines 1960s, like, just phenomenal. It all like, it's just crazy. They're so well done. So I think when I say 25 cents a piece, and he paid $75 for them plus the ship. So I think it came to 72 with shipping or something like that, but the shipping was like $12 or something. So I did well. I probably sold them too cheap, but I wasn't on eBay or anything at the time, right? So
Yeah.
but I was just a bulk buy, right? So but magazines have done great. So
One of my best bulk buys was I think I've mentioned a few times, but filter paper, and it was off Max Sold, and they tons of different different sizes of like all sealed filter paper. And I paid up $150 for a huge box load of it, but I made thousands of dollars off of it because the nice thing is I could list it because it was all sealed.
yeah.
And the demand was slow. It took me forever. It took me 2 years to get rid of all of it, but I made so much good money off that. And I know nothing about. I don't even know what it was used for. All I know is there was a slow demand, didn't take up all the room, and the value was there, but you had to be patient. And the person selling it just wanted to get rid of it, right? They didn't want to wait a couple years. So I think the key thing too is like you want to make sure you're getting a cheap enough per item, and that can be a little hard to calculate because I'm pretty sure I've made bad buys where it's like I wanted to buy more than I should have, and I overpaid. So you want to make sure you have a fairly good profit margin when it comes to these bulk buys, but a lot of people are not willing to pay up $50, $100, $200 to buy the stuff up front.
Well, it's a weird scenario. It's kind of the reverse. Like, you got your people up there to say $100 on a tote of toys, but if you see a couple toys in there that might be worth $100 a piece, like, that's very possible.
Yeah.
Then that's not too much. But on the other switch side, if you're at a yard sale and you buy in a bulk, they're probably happy to get $20 for something. You know what I mean? So you can offer $20 for a tote of toys, and it's not going to take much to get that $20 back. You know what I mean? Because on the buyer side, 100 could sound like a lot when really it's not. But on the flip side, 20 can sound like a lot to some people by getting 20 for the box of toys, and really it's a steal. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, it's like I've seen where people try to buy bulk buys, and then the guy said, "Well, okay, I'll give you 5 each," and then sat there and started counting all the toys. And I've seen people walk away because
Yeah,
they knew that by the time the guy finished counting, it's gonna be $250,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
But if you just went, if the same person went, okay, well, this is a box of toys, they don't know how many is in there. Then we take the box for, like you said, $30, where they would never sell each toy for like 50 cents, right?
right.
So you have to kind of look at that too. Like, usually it works out. Usually the person who's, if they're wanting to get rid of it, it works out. But if they sit there and start counting each individual thing,
Yeah,
you know it's not going to work out.
it's not gonna work. Yeah.
So it's not 100%.
Um. No, for sure. One of my well, one of the things I like that I talked about this story before is buying a box of bottle openers because I can put them for $5 a piece, and people love
Yeah.
their bottle openers. They're very collectible. It usually has like it can have a beer logo, it can have like a catchy saying or something. It can be a shape of a screwdriver or something. You know what I mean? Um, but they love their bottle openers, and I can put them for $5 a piece and throw them in the booth and just put them in a small little area. But I remember the one time I got the bottle openers, and in there was a Gucci bottle opener, and I sold that for about $150. I think I started
Yeah.
around 400.
Yeah.
But that I wouldn't if I didn't do my bulk buys or have a way to get rid of the low stuff, I would never have saw that bottle opener in there, right? So
You never know. I have bought a bad buy though. I remember I bought a bunch of fishing wire. I'm lucky I broke even on it. I bought it. I'm pretty sure I paid more than I could have bought them in for individually because I didn't do the math.
yeah.
And one of the boxes was empty. So
Oh
like, yeah. So you have to be a little careful. That was one of my early buys though. That was one of
yeah.
my first things. So go ahead.
Okay, so one of my favorite bulk buys was 3,000 books at a estate sale.
Oh, I hope you didn't pay more than 25 cents each.
Well, I don't know. Figure. I think it was what would have been 75 cents or 30 cents a piece, maybe. I bought 3,000 for $1,000, so that's probably 30 cents a piece, I guess. If I'm doing the math quickly here,
Would say the math again?
So I paid $1,000 for 3,000. So I probably paid 35 cents a piece or 33 or something.
Yeah.
Is that right? Does that make sense?
That's right.
Okay.
Otherwise, people will make fun of us next time. But I know that sounds about right.
Okay. Like, holy cripes, now I got to think. So, yeah, so that was, and again, it was mainly a personal library where everything was in the walls. There were shelves set in the walls strictly for the books, and there was a ton of books, but there was books throughout the entire house, which is a large house. But it was the contents in the house, other than the books, that made me think if anything in the library represents anything that's outside there, all the other stuff like radios, beer trays, these guys collected everything, and it was old and it was gold. Like it was, they had great stuff. And I'm like, if the library books represent anything, it's going to be some really good stuff in here, right? It's going to be a hell of a job. But anyway, so I just asked him how much for all these books. Well, he came back a couple days or a week later, and he says you can have all the books in the house for $1,000, but you have to take all the books because they just didn't want to deal with it. So I'm like, okay, it's going to be a lot of work, but that's better for me because I don't have a clue about books. You know what I mean? So it's going to take me forever to look them up anyway. So it's pretty much what I was going to have to do. So I had to take all the books in the house, and you know the story. One guy came for one book. He ended up spending $2,000 on 5 books and a box of a volume of about 24 books.
Yeah.
So, and so I doubled my money right there in my first sale, and I've been learning, and they've been selling ever since. But that was a bulk buy, and I had to take a chance on it, right? So, now if I went to and it was all modern books, and it was like I wouldn't pay that much at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think so. I can get books for free.
Yeah,
Even then, I don't pick them up. You have to
but
be.
it was like I got $900 for one book. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
these were really special books. These were
These
not
were
like,
special books.
this is
Now I
this
didn't
is
know that, but I
fiction.
knew books could have some value. They were
Yeah,
old, and they weren't just thrown around. They were placed in a library, like a
yeah,
personal library.
yeah.
But it was everything else in that house that made me think there has to be something here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Um, another aspect of bulk buying is that it can provide you with future potential for more buys. So if someone knows that you're going to buy, like for books, hey, I know a guy who bought everything. They might contact you and say, "Oh, I have a collection I want to get rid of too." And so those bulk buys can show that you're serious and you're willing to pay up for a collection.
yeah,
Honestly, I haven't done that much, but I can see that happening easily.
and it wasn't easy too. Like, I can make it sound glorious, but honestly, I had to do 3 trips.
Yeah,
It was 40-minute drive to get there, 40
yeah,
minutes back, and I had a pickup truck that I have a tonneau cover on the pickup truck, but underneath it was stacked right as high as I could get it,
yeah,
and still able to close the tunnel cover. Plus my back seat, which is a very large back seat, like it's a dual cab, so it has like it was stacked up, and then the passenger side was full, and
yeah,
I had to do 3 of those trips, and I had to do them myself, and I would box them. I would put them on a dolly, wheel them to my truck, climb down 10 steps of stairs on the at the front door,
yeah,
empty them from the boxes, and then just set them neatly so I'm not damaging them in the back of my truck without boxes. When I get home, I had to do the reverse. I had to put them in
yeah.
boxes and then carry them into the house. So it wasn't like it took me 3 full days.
Mm-hmm.
Well worth it. You know what I mean? Where am I going to make that kind of money anywhere? But it was lugging for 3 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Excuse
So
me.
it sounds all fun and games, but at the end of it, plus, and then you got to go through the books, which was a learning experience, and it paid
Yeah.
huge dividends just to learn it.
No.
But there was a lot of time invested in physical labor, right? So
Yeah, and you had to take that into account because that's a lot more work than my postcards or my magazines or my pins
yeah,
or my filter paper. Or, comic books are a bit more work because usually you want to make sure there's no keys. But yeah, and honestly, I enjoy bulk buys. They're kind of fun
and they're
because
fun. Yep.
if you never know what you're gonna have, especially if it's older stuff and not new. Then there might be that black belt magazine with, like, I don't know, Bruce Lee on it or something. You never know, right? So I tend to find it a little more fun. But the main thing for me is they get listed. I don't think there's too many bulk buys. I might have some that Avon jewelry I have still hanging around, but in general, I list the stuff too. So
I think one type of thing that you have to be careful too is figurines. Like I
mm,
like buying bulk buys because you can get a lot of figurines for cheap, but not
yeah,
all figurines are the same. Like even Royal Dalton has come down in price, so you have to watch what your price point are. But I
yeah,
love buying the little Royal Daltons because if I can get them for under $10 and I can sell them for $35, $45, I mean it's right in that price range that fits. And if you're bulk buying them, a lot of times you can get them cheaper. I did that this weekend. But then there's other times where I bought the wrong figurine. You know what I mean? I thought
yeah,
they had more value or demand, and they didn't. You know what I mean? So now you're stuck with a lot of things that aren't moving.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes when you do bulk buys, there's stuff that's not even really worth selling.
Yeah, because the price can be so good, and it's like, wow, I'm getting a lot for just a little price. That's got to be good, but nobody wants them. You
No
know what I
one
mean?
wants it. Yeah.
So
Um,
it's costing money by sitting there too.
yeah, I'm trying to think of like times I've left bulk things. Like, ironically, one of the things that made me a lot of money was stickers too.
Nice. Yep.
I just sold a pack of SpongeBob stickers. I sell 10 of them for like $10 or something like that. They just go, it was actually a repeat buyer too. We just bought a bunch more, and just easy, just go into a poly mailer. I'm thinking, like, if it's a bulk buy of something big, then I'm much less likely to pick it up. Like, books can be like, they're like, you have an exception there, but books often I won't bulk buy because they're just so heavy and the demand is low, and there's a lot of work. But I'm trying to think of what else, like tapes, sometimes like audio tapes.
Yeah.
Some of the really cheap ones I won't pick up because they're only worth $1 each, so I'm more fussy about that. But it really depends.
Well, it depends on the content too, right?
Yeah, when I mean tapes, I mean like blank media. But I tell you, all my best buys in terms of returns on money have been big bulk buys.
Yeah.
Of lower value items.
Yeah. And I think some of my best like surprises, I mean, other than the bottle opener, but came from toys. Like, because if you can identify the toys as being 80s, maybe early 90s, but 80s, 70s,
yeah,
there's going to be something in there interesting most of the time. And you probably want to buy the bulk, like everything in the tote, because maybe there's an accessory you didn't know about and it's sitting at the bottom of the tote and you don't want to just grab the figure. It's best just to buy it all.
I like, often I won't know. Like, one of the best buys was a Dick Tracy rare doll Madonna. It was called the Blank or something like that.
Yeah, I remember.
I bought a big bulk of like all toys from that ages, and a lot of them didn't have a lot of value, but that was definitely a home run out of that. And I had no idea when I picked it up.
Right. Yep.
And if I hadn't bought just everything, because I remember I was at the thrift store and it's like, I just got sick of individually looking things. It's like, you know what? I'm just buying everything and hope for the best. In that case, it really worked out. So you don't always know what you're picking up.
Did you have your toy, like your nostalgia antique booth at the time? And is that why you bought the whole bunch? No? Okay.
No, I just realized they were old.
Okay.
In the 80s.
Yep.
Most Dick Tracy does not have value, but basically I had a whole bunch of mix of different toys from that era. Someone obviously donated everything. So,
and just a little disclosure, like, we're not recommending people to do this. We're just saying, here's our stories. Like, we're not recommending it either. Like, you have to kind of have a feel for what you're getting. I wouldn't just go out and buy like a bunch of stamps, or you know what I mean? You know, does that make sense? Or like, be careful what you're kind of like. If it's toys that were 3 years old, I wouldn't buy the whole tote of toys.
Oh, you got to watch out for McDonald's toys, because they can look really good sometimes too, right? And
but if you get them 100%, and I don't sell them online, but out of my booth, if I can get like a nice size box for $10 of McDonald's toys, I put $3 to $5 on them, and people will come and pick those out.
Oh man,
out of the booth. I don't put them online; they're strictly out of the booth, 100%. And I think almost all my McDonald's toys are gone. It helps if they're in the bag. If they're in the original bag,
oh right, yeah,
that makes a big difference.
I have been tempted a little bit. Like, there's a flea market, and it is an antique flea market. It's not an antique market, an hour away, and they say you can get a 10x10, and it's only open Sundays, and I think it's $35 a weekend. I have been tempted and you can keep your stuff there. That's the main thing. I have been tempted by that just to try it out one day, but I'm thinking about that just for that sort of stuff, right? But yeah, no, that's it. I hope people got some ideas. I would like to hear people in the comments where they had a really good bulk buy and they were really happy with it as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Usually the categories that you're going to find is quite diverse, but you never know until all of a sudden, like, someone has like 30 hats, or 30 totes of like postcards, or who knows, buttons. You never know. That's what makes it fun.
Buttons are good too. I've had war medals at auctions, and they turned out good. 100%. There's a lot of different things, but I think I mean, for the beginner, I think you have to be careful, but for the seasoned person that kind of knows what they're picking anyway, they're probably buying bulk too. But so it's kind of more of like, here's a little bit of our stories, right? So I just wouldn't want anybody to think that if they buy bulk and everything, and all of a sudden their garage is full and everything is worth $1 or less, like, don't blame us, man. You gotta
Sometimes a good thing to know too is like how many of that item is in per inch. So if you see a bunch of like comic books that aren't boarded, how many per inch comics usually you get, or postcards, or buttons, or whatever it is, because you're not going to sit there and count two, but you want to have some type of idea.
Yeah, well, that's a great point. Like if they're like modern comics and they're not bag and boarded, I'm probably not even going to touch them, let alone for $10. You know, I don't want to deal with it. No. But if they're 10-cent comics and they're not bag and boarded, I'm interested still. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then I start looking at condition, and you know, I'd be a little bit more interested. But if they're modern comics, bag and boarded, if I can get them for a decent price, I'm going to go for it, right? So condition and situation is always, you know, consideration for sure.
Awesome.
All right, Carl. So what are we going to talk about next week?
Oh, it's going to be a surprise.
A surprise. Okay.
Yeah. It's going to be a surprise. But also if anyone has anything they think we should talk about in the comments, we appreciate that too, because we're always looking for new ideas.
Yeah. And if we don't do it next week, then we'll probably use that idea for the following week, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So yeah, definitely leave that type of comment in, and it'll be a surprise.
Yeah, surprise. Yeah. But thank you for everyone for listening this week, and thank you for all the comments on last week's podcast. That was really appreciated.
Yeah, I like that. I like going through the comments. That's probably one of my favorite parts for sure. Yeah. Just kind of discussing it. So, all right, we are here every Friday. We're on Spotify and YouTube. It's audio only on YouTube, but we are on both platforms, and we're growing. Actually, it's a slow snail's pace, but it's kind of growing every week. So leave a comment wherever you're listening to us, and we'll read them out the following week.
Sounds great.
All right, Carl, we'll see you next week. Have a good week, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Have a good one.
Bye.